So the topic, or the first topic that we have for today, I guess I will start out by saying, I'm not going to name names, or at least try not to anyway, unless I slip up. I was having dinner the other night, and there was someone talking to their 13-year-old daughter about something that happened in school. I guess there is a transgender girl, who's a teenager, about the same age, 13, 14 years old, and I guess something was said by a cisgender girl to this transgender girl, and they got into a fight. And they were beating up on each other. And the person that was telling the story to her daughter was saying that it was wrong because that was a boy hitting a girl. So, my question is, if a transgender woman got into an argument with a cisgender woman and commenced in a fighting, would that constitute being a man committing violence towards a woman?
Definitely not. I mean, the way I thought it was first mistaken, that way we could have said, kind of, yes, but no, absolutely not. Now, she's a girl, so what's there to be said about that?
It will depend on if the transgender is very muscled with a bird, you know, like a violent man. Maybe it will look like a man who is beating a woman. If he looks very violent.
Okay.
I don't think that matters. A girl is a girl. It doesn't mean if she's muscle or whatever her body is. She's a girl. So I don't think that matters. So yeah, I don't agree with what your friend said, that it's a girl beating a girl.
But when the person is very strong, the person can hurt very much.
Yeah, but still, even a girl that is not a transgender, even a cisgender girl can be stronger than a guy. So yeah. I don't think that matters.
I would agree. Like, there are very masculine girls out there and very feminine girls. And so just because you have more muscles or appear more masculine, that does not make you a boy or a man.
Actually, there's one of these girls in the book, The Power, we're reading, and she is very masculine, named Roxy.
Okay.
And there is also the transgender woman who was pregnant. She is quite muscly, and she has grown a bird, and I think that she looks very very impressive. She's like a man with dark hair, dark bird. Again.
Okay, so in order that I... Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go on. Should I go ahead? Or...
Yeah, go ahead, Sarah.
I was asking just to make sure. So we are talking to check if in the case that a transgender woman hits a girl, we are seeing if we are referring to a man hitting a woman.
Correct.
Okay. So in order to identify it as a violent act or not towards women.
Right.
Okay. So does it matter in the conclusive tone?
In the sense that it still like is a violent act, no, but the thing is we don't count a fight between, say, the same gender as like some kind of like violent. Yeah, exactly. So then when it becomes between the non-equal, that becomes a problem. But this here is not, I guess, that problem.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the consequence of the fight is not important, because there are stories where women can kill the another can kill the woman, like shooting them or stabbing them.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is
So you're
more
saying
the,
if they had a weapon, then yeah, it'd be equal if they had a. Yeah. All right. I think I'm following what you're. Yeah.
I mean,
Just like
it
anybody
is
else,
not,
if somebody had a weapon or something like that, whether it was a man or a woman or so on, I see where you're going with that, Kwakwe. But all right.
I mean that it is more the physical appearance of the transgender that is important, because women can murder other women. They can beat them to death, and and they will also be considered as women.
Okay. Were you about to say something, Shayesta?
No, not really.
Okay. Hmm.
I think that when you think about the about the physicality of it, like it depends, because today's transgender children go through like, it's different, because when you say you have a person in a male body that attempts to like swift to the female one or change to the female one, but you can't say say for example that a 9-year-old differs that much whether it's a male or a female body in strength,
In physicality.
and in physicality, and so many transgender youth are starting to transition so early today that it's like, it's not as if a 30-year-old man comes out as transgender. And yes, but I see where the argument is coming from, but I slightly have to disagree, or like, it's not like there's a male body and a female body. That's not the case.
And what if, let's say, what I was thinking in my mind, and Also, I mean, it might be being as young as they are, too early for it, but let's say if they started on hormone replacement therapy or something like that, and they were starting to take estrogen, which would offset the testosterone, they would be, it would lessen, you know, the male muscular build in that way. But I don't know. Am I going down the wrong road with that one?
No, I think it would. But it's difficult because that also depends on if they, say, only take hormones or if they had sex reassignment surgery as well, which in many countries, in the case it is allowed as far as I know right now, you cannot do before you're 18.
Mm-hmm.
So...
Okay. Anybody else have any thoughts?
I'm thinking about a case where let's say I'm a police and I'm conducting a report on a fight, and I write down, and I have the IDs of the parties involved in the fight, and I just write down, I'm seeing the name of Bruce identified as male in the ID card. I have no idea how he thinks he has this, does he identify a male to be him or not? And if I want to conduct this report of the fight, I just write that he, for example, hit some, let's say Nicole, he has a fight with Nicole, and I give this report to you, and you are seeing it as a he. You don't have any more information about it. So
yeah, I think if they're going legality-wise by whatever is, let's say there's gender on the license and they're going by whatever the license says and not, yeah, I see where you're going with that.
So I kind of think that it, at some point, it boils down to be not, you cannot legitimize it. I mean, even if we get to the point that, hey, it's violence against females, then you cannot go any further than this philosophical thought. You cannot make it legit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, unless they changed it on their license
ID.
and so on. Yeah, identification, and they went through, right.
That's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And I think, like, I'm not really sure how's that everywhere, but I know that in some countries you have to say you also go through gender confirming surgery. That's the term they use. So you cannot say I'm only changing my civil status law, my gender recognition. You also have to go to transition physically.
Yeah, it is like this in Iran.
I think it's like this in Austria as well, but don't pin me down on it. I'm not sure.
No, it's too late. You're already pinned. So nobody's gonna bring a counter argument. Everybody agrees on this.
Is it? I personally would say it's not a man hitting a woman or a boy hitting a girl, because that's so transphobic.
Let's agree that it's more complicated than that. Like, we can say that it's a violent act nonetheless, but to investigate further, you can say that you can, I don't know.
It's kind of complicated.
Yeah, it's so complicated.
But I don't get it. Where does it complicate it?
It's not complicated. It's not complicated if you say, no, it's not a boy hitting a girl.
Mm-hmm.
But it gets complicated when you think about the physical attributes or the physicality of the people involved.
With a picture.
I guess it depends from each case. Like in this case, there are 2 children, so I wouldn't say it matters. But maybe, I don't know, if it's a different case where it's actually violent, like, I don't know.
I would definitely say it's violence against women, because violence against women means it's against women. It's not focusing on the perpetrator. The perpetrator can be of any sex, of any gender. It simply says against women. So I would say, if it is really violence, then it is violence against women, regardless of who the perpetrator is.
Okay.
But I think we are kind of having a philosophical kind of argument that who do you consider as a man?
That's the question.
We were down that road once. Yeah.
We did. And it's not so easy, because what constitutes a man and a woman means different things for different people. So
I think it boils down to the physical features. Like, that's the only way you can specify gender. And nothing else.
So correct me if I'm wrong. I have almost zero knowledge. I just Googled it. Transgender people have the appearance of men, like have physical attributes of men or women, but they consider themselves as the opposite sex.
And some of them transition to the opposite sex and take hormones to transition to the opposite sex.
Okay.
So they take the hormones of the opposite sex in order to align their body features with the opposite sex.
Okay.
So say a man starts taking estrogen in order to appear more feminine, but in physical traits. Or a woman starts taking testosterone, and the testosterone leads to her developing more masculine.
But so the just that the one senses or feels or considers him or herself as the opposite sex doesn't suffice. He or she has to take action, or
many of them are not satisfied with their body as it is. So
yeah, I know, but if they don't take action,
Nothing would happen.
Nothing would happen.
They would just go along the male or female development.
Okay, guys, this is me. Okay, I'm a boy. I'm a male.
Okay.
Okay, I am in my ID card. It's written that I'm male.
Yeah.
I have never tried any actions in order to change any attribute of myself towards being a woman. But just in my mind, I think I'm a woman.
Yes. Okay.
So, am I transgender?
Yes.
Okay.
You're not satisfied with yourself, okay? So that's the point. I don't think I've ever told you, but I have one transgender cousin, which like everybody know according to the he came to our conversation once when we were talking about transgender people. With her, it was like all her life she was not satisfied with what she was. And she knew that there was something wrong, but she didn't know what was going on until she watched a movie. And then she realized that, oh, I can be a boy. And then she went through all these difficult surgeries just to become a boy. I mean,
okay,
who else other than transgender people can go through such like extreme measures to become the other gender?
So I have a question. If one day, my case that I told you that I am a male, but in my mind I think I'm a woman, I beat you, Shaiste.
Okay.
Then all of you others consider it, do not consider it as a violent act, sexual violent act.
Kids between the same sexes now.
It will be
I
violent.
don't consider it.
Okay, that's I would consider it.
No, you would consider it as it is a violent act, but you don't consider it as it's between the same genders. When it's between the same genders, it has like some kind of equality between them. So, okay, fights happen between like any two other people, like anyone. But when it's between two genders, like not the same genders, that becomes a problem because it's not equal. It's not really fair. Not that it's not fair. Maybe it was, but anyways.
Okay.
Okay.
But I won't beat you.
Yeah.
So when I was okay, go ahead, Kwakwe.
It is quite difficult to say if a transgender really look like a man. So when people see a fight between a transgender male and a woman, they will doubt. They won't intervene quickly because they are judging. They are not really knowing if it's a woman. If it's a woman or a man who is fighting. So the why people are very find shocking that a man fights with a woman is because a man is supposed to be much stronger and yes, it is not fair. So it is why people are shocked. It depends on the strength of the person, actually.
But I think that, sorry, that is a problem in general, because it took decades for, at least in Europe, for societies to accept that men beating their wives is not okay. And now everybody kind of justifies it with the man is much stronger than the woman, and so it's not okay. But everybody, or like many people, don't realize or don't want to realize that a woman beating her husband is also not okay. But they think, oh, a woman is not as strong as a man, or she doesn't do it because it's not in her nature, and so on. And I think that is a problem as well.
Yeah. And also we should not forget that violence is not only about beating up someone. There are all kind of violence against women or men as well.
Yeah.
Yes, it's not just physical violence.
That was the other thing that when I said, Shayesta, you mentioned about why my blood was boiling. When they were saying, oh, it's a boy hitting a girl, it's a boy hitting a girl, I was thinking to myself also, that's part of the reason why people go into depression over that stuff and end up trying or deciding to commit suicide, because people are saying they're a man or a boy and they're a woman, and they're in the point in their lives where they're trying to figure it out, and these people over here are saying this stuff, and then so on and so forth. Because that was the road that was upsetting me as well.
Yeah.
Sorry, what was the word that's upsetting you?
You've got this young children that are trying to find themselves and trying to determine whether they're male or female or what have you, and you've got people in the background as they're trying to decide, okay, I'm a boy but I feel like a girl, so I'm going to be a girl. And you've got everybody else saying, oh no, you're a boy, you're a boy. That's when those people start to affect that child, and they start to feel bad or depressed or ashamed or so on and so forth, and then that can build to, depression and suicidal thoughts.
Yeah,
Not being acknowledged is horrible.
Exactly.
You mean the psychological violence? When somebody is bullied because people think that they are effeminated, or in the contrary, because people think that they look like boys, and they are bullied. And is it what do you mean?
Who?
Anybody wanna?
Who, Kvok?
I was asking if the problem that Robert Smart is speaking about is bullying. Is when people are bullied.
I suppose you could look at it that way. Yeah, in a sense. Inadvertently, without thinking, yeah, they could be psychologically bullying them in a way, but even though they might not realize it. But I get, yeah, ignorance isn't a just because you're ignorant doesn't mean you're not at fault.